Bob, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, doing well.
We're great. The rain has gone off. We got fall weather finally. You got a sellout for Saturday, Arkansas versus Auburn. And it's, everybody said every game in a 12-game season is going to be big. This game, to me, Bob, feels like, this is where you get a good sense of what bowl game you might be playing for the second half of the season, or at least the tier of bowl game that you're playing for. Like, for me, a win over Auburn is the last hope to keep Arkansas on a trajectory to play in, one of the top tier-ish games that the SEC has a contract with, whether it be the Citrus Bowl or the Outback, or, you want to play on January 1st. A win against Auburn goes a long way getting you there.
Yeah, because, this is a home game. Auburn's good. They're always going to be good, but you don't feel like this is a, vintage top 10 kind of Auburn team. It's a new coaching staff, and, they're making the transition like Arkansas did last year, like a lot of SEC teams do. Every couple of years, it seems like, there's 3 or 4 changes. But, I think being back at home, and especially when you look at the schedule, just is very unforgiving. And so, if Arkansas is going to have a shot to win 8 or 9 games, I think they got to win this one. But it's not going to be easy. Arkansas is favored for the first time in like 4 years, going back to Brett Bielema days. So it's a big win. It's a big game for Arkansas to get a win.
Teams have the same records. Both have lost to top-notch teams. Georgia and Penn State. For Auburn, those are 2 top 10 teams. At least the time that they played them, they were. And going into Penn State and losing by 8 on a whiteout night, a loss is still a loss. But
that's pretty impressive.
It's a pretty decent performance by Auburn on the road there. And teams that can run the ball on the road will always worry you a little bit, especially against a defense in Arkansas right now that is struggling against the run. And, Trey Williams doesn't look 100%. We're seeing, rumors there about maybe Catalon's availability for this weekend and maybe beyond. So, if I'm Auburn and I know I run the ball well and I ran it for 279 yards last year against this team, that's what I'm going to try to do again, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. The 2 SEC games, Auburn's passed, I think, 91 times and run at 58. But a lot of that, they fell behind at LSU 13-0 and trailed 19-10 third quarter, so they really had to pass a lot. And then at Georgia, they were behind, 17-3, 24-3. So, but yeah, ideally they'd like a balance. With Brian Harsin talked about that Monday. But yeah, Tank Bigsby, I think, ran for 140-something on Arkansas. You look at, Bo Nix is a running threat. Not just scrambling around, which he does very well to buy time on pass plays, but he's a good running. I think he's their 3rd leading rusher. Jarquez Hunter is having a pretty good year, freshman. I think he got 94 yards on 1 carry against Alabama State. And the offensive line, if you look at it, I think if I read their depth chart right, they've got like 4 seniors, so they've got a veteran offensive line much like Arkansas does. So, it's going to be a tough game. I would imagine it'll be a 1-score game that goes down to the wire. I don't know if it'll be as wild as last week, but I certainly don't expect either team to pull away Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that much excitement back-to-back weeks. I think too much heart medication will be dished out at Walgreens and other pharmacies across the state if that happens again. But, Bob, with the rushing game that you just talked about and the fact of the matter of Bo Nix has only thrown for less than 1,200 yards halfway through the season, not a very productive passing game. Is this the week to go and be 100% committed to a 4-man front?
I've been wondering about that because, Arkansas ran some 4-man in practices in preseason camp, and they talked about having the depth to do that. And, of course, Bo Nix, he's been turnover-prone in the past, but he's only thrown 1 pick on the season, I believe, last week at Georgia. So, yeah, I keep wondering if they're going to break out that 4-man line because I think that definitely would help, the run defense. So we'll see what happens. They might do some mix and match, but they really haven't run. I guess they ran some 4-man front against Georgia Southern because they're obviously a wishbone team, triple option team. They ran some against Rice, but they haven't done it in these SEC games. and it obviously served them well against Texas and against A&M. And I don't know if it would have mattered what they ran against Georgia. And Ole Miss, I think, just has a really good offense, and Arkansas's defense didn't have a very good day. And, like you guys mentioned, I think Catalan's banged up. Sam alluded to that. He's probably going to have to wear his cast all season. So, and he's big in their run defense.
Mm-hmm. On the other side of the ball, though, for Arkansas this week, Auburn's got a decent, defense. They don't give up a lot of points. Gave up 34 last week to Georgia, the most that they've given up this season. And in today's college football, if that's the most you've given up through 6 games, you count that as a win on the defensive side of the ball. So which area of the offensive game needs to be most productive for the Hogs to really attack this Auburn defense?
Well, I think it always comes down to the run game. Obviously, Traylon Burks went up and got a couple of jump balls last week, and Warren Thompson had a pretty good game. Trey Knox, got involved more in the passing game at tight end. They really got involved for the first time all season. But I think you always have to run to set up the pass, and I think K.J. Jefferson passes the ball. Sam Pittman has said this. So I guess I'm really just kind of building on what Sam said. But, I think K.J. plays best when he's running the ball, and that helps, the passing game obviously set it up. So, most teams, if you can't run the ball, it's hard to win in the SEC or probably most leagues. So you want a balance, but you really got to be able to run the ball to win, I believe.
I know, Bob, you were on the coach's teleconference yesterday, and week by week, the not rumors, but the pressure, I guess, just continues to build at LSU to stop a losing streak and try to turn things around. And the injuries just keep coming. As I read your report today, Keishon Butte out for the rest of the year. Their top receiver, a leg injury. Lost Eli Ricks, their starting senior quarterback. Already Derek Stingley was probably done for the year. A couple of defensive ends. It's a mess, a total mess at LSU. And that has nothing to do with Orgeron's ability to coach, but the coach still is responsible for all of it. And it feels like it's really spiraling out of control right now for the Tigers.
Yeah, injuries are part of the game, but they've lost, two really good pass rushers, their top 2 cornerbacks, their top receiver. Miles Brennan, who might have been their starting quarterback this year. He was their starter before he got hurt last year. He got hurt in camp. I think, Max Johnson's doing an okay job. But, yeah, and I'll give Ed credit. He just, he's not acting like he's got his head in the sand. He knows what's going on, and it's hard to believe. LSU's 8-8 since they went 15-0 and won it all. And, they've played a lot of good teams in that stretch. The All-SEC schedule opened up at UCLA this year, and UCLA beat them, but UCLA's proven to be a pretty good team, although you thought, LSU would win that game. And then you just look at the schedule. They went to Kentucky, and before the season, you would have thought, well, LSU's going to win at Kentucky. Kentucky's having a great year. And they didn't just beat LSU. They hammered them. They were beating them 35-7, I think it was, at one point. And now LSU's got to go to Florida, and they've still got to play Alabama and A&M and Ole Miss and Arkansas. And they've got one, I think they're playing ULM maybe in there. That's really the only game you look at and say, well, they're going to win that game. And I'm not saying, they can't beat Florida because that game's in Baton Rouge. I'm not saying they can't beat Arkansas. That game's in Baton Rouge. I think A&M showed us they were struggling. They beat Alabama, so anything's possible. But it doesn't look good for LSU. It looks like 6-6 would maybe be, a reasonably good record based on who they have left, and that obviously is not going to cut it. And you read that Scott Woodward, their AD's on the sidelines all the time, and they talks about him. They meet and he's being supportive. I would say he's probably down there evaluating everything, and plus, he did not hire Ed, and so, at this point, it would really be a surprise, I think, if Ed was retained. I hate to say that because I like Ed and everything, but I think you got to live in reality. And whether you turn on the SEC network and see Paul Feinbaum or read all the everything on the internet and in the Louisiana papers, it's all about Ed Orgeron and who's going to replace him.
To kind of tie the whole conversation that we've had here today, and you said you don't think that he's really going to be retained by LSU with Ed O, and bringing in the Auburn side of this conversation, do you think Gus Malzahn's name could possibly be thrown into the pot. I mean, a guy with plenty of SEC experience, was most way successful at Auburn, and just as somebody that knows the landscape and knows how to navigate the SEC West, just to kind of bring a little bit of stability to the program. Do you think his name could possibly be thrown into the mix?
I like Gus. I think Gus is a good coach. I thought he did a good job at Auburn. You could argue Auburn is the toughest job in the country because you're in the same state as Alabama, and your two biggest rivals are Alabama and Georgia, and Auburn fans expect to at least split, against those teams every year, and it's very hard. But I don't think LSU would hire a guy who just got fired by another SEC West team. I mean, I think if they were going to target SEC coaches, and this may be one reason that A&M gave Jimbo Fisher that nice contract extension and nice raise, because the guy who's at LSU now hired him at A&M. And I don't know if they could pry Jimbo away from A&M. I don't know that LSU is a better job than A&M. They're both really good jobs, obviously. I could see LSU trying to get Lane Kiffin. I don't know if he would leave Ole Miss. You can say LSU is a better job than Ole Miss, but Kiffin seems to be doing pretty well there. And but I think if they were going to target somebody in the SEC, it would be Jimbo Fisher and Lane Kiffin.
It's interesting, too, because I read that in Mississippi you can only sign coaches to 4-year contracts because they're public employees. Any public employee contract can be no longer than 4 years. So, if I'm Lane Kiffin and, the LSU's got more money, more security in that case, I don't know, maybe a little something to think about. Bob, we got Major League Playoffs tonight. It's going to be an awesome game, Giants-Dodgers. Quick answer here. Does this game go 4 hours, and do you make it to the end?
I'll probably watch it. I mean, there's a lot. I know Tampa's playing somebody. Who's Tampa playing in the NFL game? I can't remember.
Philly.
Eagles.
Yeah. Baseball.
Yeah,
football.
I'm gonna. Even though the Tigers, unfortunately, are not in the playoffs this year, I'll probably watch. I actually watched that Dodger-Giants game to the end the other night when it was pretty lopsided. I think the Dodgers hit a home run in the 8th to make it 7-2. But I thought, well, I'd watch it this long. But that's obviously high-level baseball. And I think Scherzer's going for the Dodgers, right?
No, they're going to throw Julio Urias today. Yeah. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
Bob, we got to run. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, Scherzer's not even going to pitch out of the bullpen today. It's Julio Urias and the rest of the Dodgers relievers, and we wrap up the first hour next.
We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the #1 source for everything football. Head to your website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of these amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.